Hello, Serious Survivor here. Today I want to talk about the riots intensifying on the days of the election and the days shortly thereafter. We all see the events going on television right now. We see the events that have been occurring for the last 2 to 3 months. And these events are more than troubling. It's not that these aren't going away. It seems that the rioting is only intensifying, and the looting and the burning of buildings, the destruction of property, the violence, the murders that have been occurring, it's all being encouraged more and more by one side of the political spectrum. Statements have been issued. There have been many interviews that talk about if Trump does win this election, how the rioting is going to intensify even more, and how these riots are going to move into the residential neighborhoods. And that's what I really wanted to talk about today. I truly believe the rioting will intensify. I truly believe it's going to increase dramatically, and the violence that we're seeing is nothing compared to the violence that we're going to see the night of the election and shortly thereafter if Trump does win. And I fully expect this to carry over into our residential and more rural neighborhoods. So far, it's been isolated mainly to the urban areas, to the centralized city locations, to downtown cities, and to urban areas. But this is definitely not going to be the case if the election does not go the way that political side wants it to go. It's not just my opinion, but it's their statements that they broadcast continuously over the news waves and the mainstream media. Now, for those who live in apartment buildings and who live downtown in the cities, then this is something you really need to think about now before the election. It's going to be too late to react. We don't want to react to what's happening. We want to be proactive about it. I know that a lot of people simply just cannot up and leave, for a day or two to see how difficult things get or to see if things calm down or not. But regardless of which area you may live in, one thing stands true, and that's the need for preparation now. We talk about food and other types of preps, but today I want to talk about firearms. And firearms are a necessary part of preparation for a Civil War type of event. The problem with a Civil War type of event is sometimes it's not going to be a clear-cut enemy. Of course, when there are rioters trying to break into your home and trying to inflict bodily harm on you and your family or take your possessions, then it's pretty obvious where the enemy is. But it's not like these are going to be uniformed combatants that we can easily look at, and you're not going to know who most of these people are until you ride up on them. So firearms are a necessary part of survival in a Civil War situation, and that goes without saying even. But in the month that we have left before this event truly does occur, because we at least have a date and when this event is going to intensify, this time we should spend this time dedicated to training ourselves, to making ourselves better with the equipment that we do have. If you don't have a lot of money to go out and buy very expensive, really high-tech type of firearms and all, use what you got. It's more important to be able to use what you have efficiently than it is to spend a lot of money on something and not practice with it. So if you already have the firearms that you intend to keep during this time frame, then spend the money that you would use on other things to go to the firing range if you have to pay to go to the firing range. If you live out in the country, then this is definitely going to be cheaper and easier. Ammunition is getting hard to find, and we see that in a lot of different places. I know where I'm living is pretty much restricted to 1 box per caliber per person per day, and that's if they even have the calibers that I'm shooting. So training with the ammo and then purchasing ammo, this can be a conflicting event. It can be really hard to decide, do I take my ammo that I'm stockpiling and use it for training, or do I train a little less and make sure that I have enough stockpiled? It's recommended that you have 1,000 rounds for each caliber of firearm that you have. This is going to be a difficult and trying time for our nation. It's not going to be like the first Civil War in the United States. There were uniformed soldiers, and they basically lined up on a battlefield, and took shots at each other. We've all studied this. We've all learned about it in school and such. But this is not going to be the type of war that we're going to see this time. And the reason for that is the population of America during the Civil War was a little over 30 million people. And that was in the 1860 U.S. Census. The population of America now is over 350 million people. So that's a 10-time increase since 1860 in the last 160 years. And during that time frame, approximately 2.75 million soldiers fought in the Civil War, with 2 million fighting for the North and approximately 750,000 for the South. That's a large number of combatants, but we can expect that number to dramatically increase with the increases that we've seen in the population. And it's really going to be hard to tell the enemy combatants, especially after the initial stages. In the initial stages with the rioting going on and the rioters basically up the street in large gangs, large groups, smashing windows, burning buildings, and attacking people, at that point it's going to be a little easier to tell. But after things subside a little bit, because after the initial surge, then these rioters are going to learn that they have to spread out. They can't all group up in the centers of towns and just attack the buildings. They're going to spread out into smaller groups, and maybe groups of 50 to 100, and they're going to start attacking residential neighborhoods. One of the most important things you can do, other than your firearms, your weapons, your self-defense, is if you are in a residential neighborhood, is to at least talk to your neighbors, know your neighbors, and set up some type of defense. A lot of these neighborhoods have neighborhood watch committees and all, and I'm not saying that they're all that effective, but this can be effective now in this type of situation. If you can group people together and get people to stand together, then you stand a better chance. Because there are a lot of videos out there, and there are a lot of people that talk about securing your home. If you live in a fortress, this is okay. But realistically, if we live in a suburban neighborhood, and my whole plan is just to secure my home and to sit inside my home while all this chaos is going on outside in the streets, then the real question is, how long will I last there before they hit my home? Yeah, maybe they try to get in and I fight them off once, but they're going to come back, because if I'm fighting them off, then they know I've got something there worth protecting. So they're going to come back in force. Nobody's going to skip over your home in a residential neighborhood. No one's going to look at your home and see a beware of dog sign or a no trespassing sign and say, well, let's leave this one alone, no matter what you do to the exterior. Just like a military operation. When the military comes in to clear a neighborhood or to clear an area, they don't just selectively clear random buildings. They're going to clear every building, every single one. Otherwise, you don't know that the area is clear. And that's exactly what the enemy's going to do in this situation. When they come into your residential neighborhood, yes, at first, they may just riot through the streets, taking out what targets they can. They're going to attempt to gain entry into every single home, every single building in that neighborhood. And that's why if people just sit in their homes, if people just try to secure their own house, then this is going to lead to the downfall of a lot of people in these situations. It's very important to stand together with those that are around you and to put up a fight against these people who are coming in. This is going to be one of the toughest situations that we've ever faced. I know for me it's going to be one of the toughest situations. As a veteran, I fought to make sure my children would never have to fight, but it looks like the fight is possibly coming to our doorstep now. So make the preparations that you need to make. There's a ton of videos, not just on my channel, but a lot of other channels, a lot of good videos out there. Home defense, there are things that we can do to defend our homes, but it's more important, in my opinion, if you're in a crowded area, that you make sure that the people around you are at least on the same page when it comes to defending yourself. You may have different political views. You may have different religious views. You may have different views altogether than your neighbor. But when it comes to one thing, you do have one thing in common, and that's the fact that you want to live and they want to live. And chances are fighting together may be the only option you have. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that today, because it's on everybody's minds. Everywhere you go, people are talking about this. And it's pretty obvious that we are on the brink of a civil war. Not really sure it matters which way the election goes. I think it's going to happen either way. So just want everybody to be prepared. I got a lot more videos coming out on the channel that I'm going to talk about specific subjects. Home security being one of them, things that we can do there that will help us out if we have to defend our home, and a lot of other subjects. But just wanted to discuss that a little bit today and let everybody know just how serious I believe it's going to be. This is going to make history. It's going to change history. It's going to redefine the future of our nation. And more importantly, at least for me, it's going to redefine the future of my children's lives and their children's lives. So we have to stand strong now. And standing strong is more than just bugging in by myself in a house. Standing strong is standing with those who are willing to fight with me. Thanks a lot for watching. God bless. Seer Survivor, out.